I could make a list of all the little sacrifices that we need to make in a daily relationship. And, I could do one Sunday where I say, okay, guys, here's a list of things that you need to do to break out of yourself and cherish your spouse, your wife. And I could make the list for wives, and I could make the list for kids and for coworkers and all. And those are good. And I could talk about the meals, the dishes, taking out the trash, the picking up your underwear after taking a shower, tucking the kids into bed, picking up this from the store, running by the cleaners, going to Piggly Wiggly or a store of your choice. Whatever it may be, we could make a list of it. But I think it would be better if we just bust open the strong box of our hearts. If we were just to get self-centeredness out of the way, I think it would unlock all kinds of resources where we wouldn't have to make a bunch of have-to lists. We would be able to be prepared for any situation, in any relationship, to give that shepherding, that tending love. So, as we learned last week, Jesus modeled cherishing through shepherding. It's he made that transition from just using it as a metaphor. He actually said, I am the good shepherd. As he says here in John chapter 10, verse 10, he says, I am the good shepherd, and the good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. He who is a hired hand and not a shepherd, who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees, and the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. See, he contrasts being a shepherd with being this hired hand. He doesn't even call him a bad shepherd. He just calls him a hired hand. He's categorically something totally different. Why? It's because the hired hand's going to run away because he doesn't have ownership. He doesn't have buy-in into the relationship. Because the hired hand is still practicing a principle of self-preservation. He's trying to save his life, keep his life, profit his life, but yet also kind of look like he's doing shepherding, but he's not really doing shepherding. He wants to keep the strong box in place where, hey, I'll only go so far. I'm not going to open myself up. I'll run as soon as this gets difficult. But I also want to make profit off of it. I want this to be successful. So we're going to have to look at the heart of the Good Shepherd. But just before we do and see what the Good Shepherd looks like inside his heart, because there's a lot of things that I know that I do as a hireling, in the sense of my heart's not really into it. Have you ever used that phrase before? Where you do a honey-do list and we go home and we do certain things and there are certain things that need to be done. And I just happen to be the honey that needs to do it. But there's something more fulfillment in relationships when our hearts are connected to things, when we do things out of cherishing instead of just have to do things. I mean, isn't that what we love about the New Testament compared to some of the things that we see in the Old Testament? Is that, we love God because he first loved us, and I'm compelled to love him differently. Not because I'm commanded alone to do it, but rather I've been kind of coaxed into it more, and we'll talk about the power of coaxing a little bit later. But before we talk more about the heart, you need to realize that in none of this that I'm talking about, breaking open your safe box, am I saying opening yourself to abuse. If you are in an abusive relationship, you need to get out of the relationship. Now, you may need to seek counsel on what is the definition of abuse. But let me encourage you that when I say opening up the safe box, I'm not saying opening yourself up for abuse. Because remember in the verse that Jesus said, he said, there's no greater love than a man die for his friends. And there's no place in the Bible where it says a man shall die for his enemies, or let his enemies kill him. We're told to pray for our enemies. We're told to love our enemies. But there's no place where it says, well, you should just let your enemy kill you. So there are some times when abuse in a relationship becomes so adversarial that, like the Apostle Paul said, we try to live at peace with people as much as possible, but there are some people we just can't live at peace with, and we need to leave those relationships.